the first interest in origami came from European traditional models, and particularly Margaret Campbell's book Paper Toy Making, which was published in 1937. But she had travelled in the East, and a lot of her models are clearly Japanese in style. And when Robert Harbin suddenly rediscovered origami in 1953, when his wife went into hospital, and he found some airmen who had been burned or injured doing occupational therapy by using paper toy making, that he saw this book and his own enthusiasm was revived, and he began researching the book intensively. So the initial initial stimulus for the British revival was from Britain itself, with influences from overseas. Robert Harbin, as soon as he recovered this interest, he had a childhood interest in paper folding. As soon as he recovered this interest, he went into it hook, line and sinker, and he tried to find out every paper folder he'd had any indication of, including Alfred Bestall. And he met Alfred Bestall in the beginning of June 1953 at the offices of the Daily Express, and Alfred Bestall wrote the Rupert cartoon for the Daily Express. And when eventually Robert Harbin published his book on paper folding, which is called Paper Magic, it was published by the Daily Express. We'd had Yoshizawa in Japan, we had Robert Harbin in Britain, but things were happening in other places. And in America, Lillian Oppenheimer had had an interest in paper folding when her daughter was ill, and she'd had a small book, paper toy making, about paper folding, but she'd forgotten about it. And then something suddenly revived her interest, and I work out this to be about 1953, and she suddenly started collecting models, meeting other people who might know about it, and she developed this interest, which eventually led her to form the Origami Centre in October 1958. And by then she had heard of Yoshizawa, and the whole thing came together. But Robert Harbin wrote Paper Magic, and a friend of his in America heard about it and obtained a copy, and a copy was sent to Lillian Oppenheimer, and this again revived her interest. She'd never seen a book like this before, and she became very enthusiastic at that time, and it led to ultimately to the formation of the Origami Centre. And then, as soon as everything came together in the Origami Centre, then because there was a centre, people got in touch with it. They could write to each other. They exchanged opinions, and there was a whole network of people who were writing to each other privately. There was no internet or anything like that, or email in those days. And it's amazing how much they did write. I think the British Origami Society was a little late in being formed. The Origami Centre was formed in 1958. It wasn't a society, it was just a projection of Lillian Oppenheimer. And the British Origami Society, well, the Origami Portfolio Society was formed in 1965. Well, that's 7 years later. It took a long time. We were copied by other nations in Europe, throughout Europe, particularly Italy, and then France, Germany, and so on. And they all formed their own societies, which were more or less modelled on the British Origami Society. Lillian Oppenheimer was the focus for the Origami Centre. She organised it all, everyone looked to her, and they didn't have any say in it because there was no democratic organisation. Well, the British Origami Society, from the start, from the days of the Portfolio Society, was a mutual members organisation which did everything. The members did everything, and that was its strength.